What's going on, everyone? And this is Jeremy. And we have a ton of new spoilers that have come out. And if you guys have been following my spoiler videos, I don't do them all. There are other people that cover each individual one much better. But I cover the ones that I think that are intriguing to me. And today I'm going to cover probably more than ever. So I want to jump right into it. We have Baloth Null here. Interesting creature. 6 mana, 4/5, which in this limited format is, I would say it's very strong. But when it enters the battlefield, return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. That is very, very powerful. And the limited scene, and I mean all over Magic, that mechanic is great. So very interested to see what that one does. Now we have this little guy, which I think is, I took some notes, Bladed Crossroads, I believe. The interesting thing about this one is you tap it to add a colorless, but you can also pay 1 life and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. But you can only use it to cast Devoid spells. The Eldrazi, constructed decks are coming around. Obviously, colorless EDH decks. This is not a bad card in draft. I don't know if I'd first pick it, but I think Devoid's the strongest mechanic in draft anyway, or the strongest archetype, any one of the color archetypes. So, who knows? Very interesting. Definitely understand why it has to be rare. Now, one of the archetypes in Limited right now that I think got a lot of help is the Black-White Allies with the life gain sub-theme. Here's another uncommon Cliffhaven Vampire. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. If you have this in play with Drana's Emissary, where you gain a life and they lose a life every turn, they would be taking 2 damage and you would be gaining 1 life every single turn. And the 2/4 flyer is great in this format. It blocks like Cloud Manta and it blocks a lot of the 4 or 3 power flyers, 2 power flyers, things like that. I think Cliffhaven Vampire is pretty good. Here we have Corrupted Crossroads. This one's interesting as well. Corrupted Crossroads. Oh, this is the English version of that card. That's why. It's not Blighted Crossroads. It's Corrupted Crossroads. My apologies. We have Drana's Chosen. This is an interesting one, too. For 3 and a black, it's a 2/2, which stinks. However, the cohort ability is pretty strong. Tap an untapped ally, creature you control, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token on the battlefield tapped. You can only do that once, obviously, because you have to tap it. It's not like you can just pump out 2/2s like crazy. It's also a zombie, not an ally, which is interesting. But it might be, I don't pick this highly in draft right now. Maybe if it was flying, but I think this card has a lot of promise in other build-around type decks. Eldrazi Displacer, I think, is very, very good. For 2 and a white, it's 3/3, which is great. 3/3 for 3 is great in this format. You can also play 2 and a colorless mana to exile another target creature, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Very strong ability. You don't even have to tap it to do this. Very, very strong. Goes some combos. Somebody told me there's an infinite combo in the new draft format. Very intriguing card. 3/3 for 3 is always a fine first pick. With exiling target creature and then returning it, the possibilities are totally limitless. Protecting creatures from removal or bounce. Reactivating ally triggers. Just so much. Fall of the Titans. Any burn spell, I think, is always interesting. And this particular one with Surge, for a 2-headed giant multiplayer game or team games, is also interesting. We have double X in a red. Follow the Titans, deal X damage to each of up to 2 creatures and or players. So if you pay 8 mana, if you have 9 mana, you can pay a red and the remaining 8 to deal 4 damage to 2 creatures or a creature and a player or whatever. This card is okay. It is awesome for its surge cost because it becomes a fireball or disintegrate for for its surge cost, which something you're going to want to look out for. I definitely want to open this in 2-headed giant. We have flying tendrils, 1 and 2 black for a Drown in Sorrow that exiles everything. This will see standard play, I imagine. Drown in Sorrow was at worst a very strong sideboard card, and giving the exile anything it kills is a very interesting twist. Definitely high pick in draft too. Here we get into some of these enchantments. Here we have Hedron, Alignment, or Hedron, whatever you want to call it. A hexproof enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal your hand. If you do, you win the game if you own a card named Hedron Alignment in exile, in your hand, in your graveyard, and on the battlefield. Wait. So you need 1 exiled, 1 in your hand, 1 in your graveyard, 1 on the battlefield. Your hand, exile, graveyard, battlefield. Okay, I was thinking that was 5 for some reason. I mean, someone's going to have fun with this. In draft, 3 mana for Scry on a stick is okay. I'm not looking forward to opening this in my sealed pool at pre-release at all. Any of these enchantments will be awful. Here we have Inverter of Truth. Very intriguing card. So for 2 and 2 black, we have a Devoid 6/6 flyer. If you guys remember Desecration Demon in the era where Devotion was popular. Very interesting. Obviously, a 6/6 flyer for 4 has to have some drawbacks, and his drawback is the most interesting drawback I've seen to date on any card. When Inverter of Truth enters the battlefield, exile all cards from your library face down. Then shuffle all cards from your graveyard into your library. So, casting this on turn 4 is nearly suicidal. I could maybe see it in like a burn deck that's playing red-black shocklands. And you can cast 3 burn spells, 3 lightning bolts, and then drop this, and then you have 3 more lightning bolts. I mean, that's interesting. Standard, I don't know. Certainly late game, it's still a 6/6 for 4, and if you have a bunch of stuff in your graveyard, it's safer to play. But on turn 4, I mean, I love it. I love being greedy, but if somebody just removes it right away, you're gonna have 3 turns to win. Here we have Matter Reshaper, which I think came out today on the 7th. Absolutely awesome creature, I think. 2 and a colorless for a 3/2. 3/2 for 3 is fine. However, when it dies, reveal the top card of your library. You may put that card onto the battlefield if it's a permanent card with converted mana cost of 3 or less, or put it in your hand. So it's a 3/2 for 3 that replaces itself. I think very good. Very good card. Certainly, Eldrazi decks are going to be a part of constructed play for some time now. I'm not sure where this fits in. It's maybe some sort of aggressive, aggro deck or something. I don't know, but it's a very interesting card. A very interesting card. Here we have Oath of Gideon. These are the legendary enchantment cycles. I don't really like any of them because they all have to do with planeswalkers. But Oath of Gideon enters the battlefield, put 2/1/1 ally creature tokens on the battlefield. Fine. And each planeswalker you control enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it. I have a feeling they're just like kind of playing with this a little bit. In constructed decks, I can't imagine, unless you're playing for an ultimate. I don't know. I don't know about that. Here we have the Oath of Nissa. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library anywhere. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast Planeswalker spells. This one's interesting, being 1 green mana. You play some sort of crazy Planeswalker deck? I don't know. That one's interesting. And then we have Overwhelming Denial. Another card that's mediocre without its surge cost. It cannot be countered by spells or abilities. It's a 4 mana counter spell. However, if it's your second spell that turn, it's a double blue counter spell. So control decks have a lot of options for counter spells right now, so I'm not sure this sees any immediate play, but obviously in Two-Headed Giant, it's a blue-blue counter spell in many cases. Or if it's late game, you could counter their counter spell or counter their removal spell. Then if they counter your counter, then you can hit them with Overwhelming Denial. I mean, it's okay. I'm not a control player, so I probably don't see it the way that you guys do. We have this guy, 1/2 for a single blue. I thought this was interesting because for 3 and a colorless, you can draw a card. So it's a card draw engine. You know, it's not interesting at all as a 1/2 for 1. You almost never want to play 1-drops in limited, but if they allow you to draw cards late game, that's pretty strong. Then we have this guy. I thought this guy's going to see some constructed play. 4 and a colorless for 5/5 with trample and haste. Crazy, right? Whenever it becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, counter that spell unless its controller discards a card, too. 5/5 trample, haste for 5 is good enough to see play. It's colorless, too, so you can play in any deck. This card, I feel very strongly, will see a lot of play. Then we have Storm Chaser Mage, a 1/3 for a blue and a red with flying and haste. It also has prowess. Interesting that it would have prowess in the set. We haven't seen that mechanic in some time. It's fine. It's a flyer. It's a 1/3. Prowess makes it a little bit better, but wrong set, I think. Unknown Shores here. Tapped out a colorless. Great. It's a common. So if you don't get your Wastes land, I still think they should have called them Void Lands. You can pick this up in draft. You can also pay 1 and tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Strong, I think. Void Grafter, the Simic 2-color, 1 in a green and a blue. 2/4, good body. Devoid, fine. Flash, nice. We've seen this mechanic, was it Hussar Patrol in RTR? Like a 2/4 with Flash is pretty good. Then, when Void Grafter enters the battlefield, another target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. So you can use it as a counter spell. You can flash it into block. Amazing card. Unfortunately, green-blue is not an archetype most people play in limited, but maybe it'll find home in some constructed deck. Here, Weapons Trainer is interesting too. For a red and a white, you get a 3/2. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 as long as you control an equipment. Or +1/+0, yeah, as long as you control equipment. 3/2 for 2 is fine, and that's, I think, how it'll be played mostly in draft or limited. But in constructed, I don't know. It's okay. And that's, I think, the end of what I wanted to go over for today. I'm very interested to see what new draft archetypes are going to be out there. I suspect that Black-White Allies got better, and that Red-Black Devoid got better, based on the cards that have interested me. Now, I'm sure there are archetypes out there that I don't see, but one thing I can say is there's quite a bit of Eldrazi, playable Eldrazi's, which make draft a lot easier, because if you can get a great creature and not have to worry about having the right mana to cast it, that's a super powerful pick. There's also a ton of fixing in this set, which I think is greatly going to improve draft, because other than Evolving Wilds and like some uncommon stuff, it's really difficult to get the fixing you want in decks that you are often playing 3 colors in. 3-color Devoid, I think, is probably one of the best if you can get the mana. So Red-Black Devoid, I think, got a lot better. Black-White Allies, I think, got a lot better. Anything with Eldrazi's gets a lot better, which generally increases the value of all draft or sealed pools. I suspect to see a lot of these fatties at pre-release, and I hope that this video helped prepare you for some of that. Now, I'm going to be streaming tonight. I'll be doing probably some of my last Battle for Zendikar drafts of the year at twitch.tv/MTGHeadquarters. Make sure you stop by. It's going to probably be around 7 o'clock Central time. Stop by and say hi. Hope to see you there. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Wait till tomorrow. We've got a sweet fat pack. What's up, and thanks for watching this video. I produce all different kinds of content, so if you haven't yet, click on my face to subscribe. If you want to watch more videos, I've got some sweet playlists, including this one, where I open up every fat pack ever created. I've also got this one over here where I open just about anything vintage and old and expensive for your enjoyment. And all this is made possible by the awesome backers at our Patreon, which is linked in the description of every video. Hop on over there, check it out, see if it's something you might want to consider. If not, sit back, enjoy, and I'll still love you.